So I've done a few already. The one I'll show you today, because there's a fair bit of wire wrapping in it, will be the angel. But most of them I just, I've already done them. They're quite easy to do. Most ways you're just going to be working off the spool. And I would suggest probably a 14 because I think that will probably work best. These are all done with 16 because that's what I have available. I've also done a little stick pin here with just a little heart on the end of it. I do have some pictures that I will add into the video, so I'm not going to do, like I said, all the projects. I'll just do one. If you notice, I did do the cat, but I took the loop off the end of it, and so you can have it more sort of like a shawl pin or a scarf pin, okay? And as well as this one, the same kind of concept. For me, the best way to do it is just to have your picture open. The other way you could do it is you could just take a piece of paper, draw a template of the design you want to use, and just go from there. And when you're looking at your designs and you're trying to decide about how to go about them, just look at where the wire begins, and then just kind of travel your eyes all the way through, and that will give you a clue as to how to wire wrap it. But you will use a lot of just your fingers, and then of course at the end you'll do the hammering. That'll wire harden it, but it'll also give it some texture, and it will also widen it in certain areas to give it that that look that you see. So again, I'm working with a 16 gauge and trying to have it as straight as possible to start out with. So I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to say probably about 3/4 of an inch. Again, the one I've made, this one here, is just under 4 inches, okay, in size, just so you have an idea. And the bead I've used is a 10 by 15 millimeter, just a glass faceted bead, okay? So just, like I said, 3/4 of an inch. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just use your fingers, or you could use your chain nose pliers. I'm just going to use my fingers just to bend it. So I'm just bending the wire. Okay, and I'm just really working with the wire, allowing it sort of to show me where to go. So I would suggest, if you're going to do a lot of these, that you might want to invest in a pair of these multi-level pliers, because they are excellent for making nice circles for you, and they have all the different levels of size circles for you. So I just have the side of the angel made, and then I'm going to get to the top, and I'm going to use my biggest plier part and just kind of just go wrap right around. And again, this will give me something that's a lot more uniform in shape. Now, if it's a little bit bent like mine is, you just want to take your pliers and just kind of, but again, remember, we're going to hammer all this out, so it will be okay at the long run, in the long run. So yeah, just make it as big as you want or as small as you want. You could always make it a lot smaller than this. Look at it and see that it's sort of the same size as the other side. So you just kind of look at it like that, and then come, and then what you're going to do is, if you have a ruler, or if you can, a lot of times I just eyeball things, but it goes about 1 inch. So you're just going to want to do the same amount of a bend on the other side so that it's even. Okay, so come down, this is about 2 inches, so 2 inches, and then at the 2-inch mark, you're just going to bend in about 1 inch. And this is why you wouldn't cut your wire. After you get more adept at it and you've done a few, you'll be better at gauging how much you need. You can actually just use your fingers like I showed you. All right, and then you're going to go in about 1 inch. And this is going to be a little fatter than the other one. I'm just going to cut that wire at this point and then move it out. So now that I have this, I'm just going to go back in, and I'm just going to give this little circle a little bit of a squeeze. I'm just going to start to reshape it a little bit, because right in the beginning, when you're first, getting it done, it may not be exactly the way you want, and that's the great part, is you can go back in and you can just sort of do it whatever way you like. Now, if you notice, it's kind of not flat or anything like that, but once you start to hammer that, that's going to make a huge difference. All right, and again, if you want to make it not as fat as this, you can go ahead and then just adjust your measurements accordingly. The other thing is if you want your wire to cross over or get closer than it is, because right now it's quite far apart, you just want to overcompensate, and then what will happen is the wire will bend to where you want it to be. And if you see that there's a little bit more here, which I noticed that there's a little bit longer, just turn that back. Now the next thing you're going to do before I even hammer this is you want to make the wings. Now the wings are interesting in that they're several different sizes. So the shortest one is going to be the bottom, and then this is like the second shortest, so it's sort of graduated. So say you want it to, and you're going to have to gauge it against the top of your angel. So for instance, if I want to have it here, so I'll just measure right about here, and then I will measure and see that that's 2 inches. And then I'm going to go with probably 1.5 inches for the lowermost wings right here. Okay, so now you can just go about your business and just measure it, and that way you'll know that it's going to be the area of where you want it to be. Another trick might be to use a bigger gauge than the gauge of wire that you're using here, and that will make the wings look a little chunkier. I'm just going to show you how to hammer it. You might have lots of experience with hammering, but I'm just going to show you because there's certain areas where it's hammered, but other places where it's not hammered. Okay. Organized my wing parts, and this is probably the most tedious part of it. It'll just take some time to do, but it's not hard. So what you're going to do is just do a little bit. I see they're flat, and I flattened out the ends. Just do a little bit of a bend in the center. You could use your pliers for that, or you could just use your fingers like I am. So there's that one, and then the next one. And you want to get them as close as possible. They're not going to get perfectly flush because I found that didn't work out very well. And also once you attach the wings, you're going to be able to adjust them and spread them out the way you want. But this is just sort of preparing them to be wired together. And I did try and just wire them on one at a time, and I found that wiring them together first and then wiring them on was better. And I think that's how it's actually done in the actual original. I have about a 24 gauge wire, and I'm just going to take it, and this is just going to attach it onto about 3 wraps, and I'll have some pictures so you can see a little bit better. All right, now that the 3 wraps are done, you're just going to attach your bead. All right, so just center it like that, and then just wrap it. Okay. And you can always adjust those coils on the length of the wire. It still has some movement, so if you want to center it, that's perfectly fine. And now that that's done, you're just going to take your next wire. I'm just going to bring that right underneath your bead, like that. All right. And then you're just going to try and work behind the bead, and just start to wrap around that. So those are attached now. And then you're just going to go on to the next one. Just slide it right underneath the other one like that. Okay. And then just start to wrap it 3 times again. Sort of a graduated wrapping, and that's much like the picture. It's a graduated wrapping. Okay, so then you're just going to trim that back, and just adjust it a little bit to make sure it's the way you want it to. But again, once you get it on, you can still adjust it. Okay, and then the way it's wired on is it's wired on at the 4 corners. So it comes behind the angel like that. Okay, just going to bring these in a little bit more just so that the wings will fit. Okay, so there you go. And now you're just going to go on the 4 corners. Okay, so just wire in that top. First one's going to be a little harder to put on, but once you get that one on, you'll be okay. Okay, so just wrap it around at once. So you're just kind of going crisscrossed like an X pattern. But if you don't want to do that, if you just want to do a regular coil wrap, that'll work too. But I'm just kind of going from what they're doing. So you might have to actually add a little bit more wire as you're going to keep these wings sort of not moving, because there is a little bit. So you could add a little bit of wire here, that kind of thing. But also, if it's going to be against something, you might have less movement. Then after just for your final touches, you're just going to want to go in and just kind of curve your wings a little bit with your pliers, and then just make sure it's perfect. And then if you're going to use it as a shawl pin or something like that, then I would wire this closed, and then you could have your wire. This is just the double heart one, so you're just going to start with a swirl. Now I'm looking at a picture as I go, and I find that's great. Or like I said, you could just do your template. So just like that, and then go right around. I'm just letting the wire, just gently guiding the wire where I want it to go. Okay, like that. So making the circle like that. Okay, bringing it up like that, and then coming down and doing kind of the same type of point around the same area. And then just going back right up. Just going to do, and now I'm just going to eyeball this because I want it to be the same as that, but again I can trim back if I want. So start to scroll it in. Okay, so that's kind of a rough way to do it, and then just hammer it out.